the early morning hours of May 23rd, 1982. In a quiet Houston apartment complex, two roommates, Lori Lister and Melinda Aguilar, had just returned home. As they went about their routines, they were unaware that Carl Eugene Watts had been stalking their building. Watts forced his way into their apartment, overpowering both women. He bound their hands and feet with electrical cords and gagged them. He dragged Lori Lister into the bathroom and attempted to drown her in the bathtub. Meanwhile, he left Melinda restrained in the bedroom, assuming she was secure. But Melinda managed to free herself. In a desperate and heroic dash, she escaped out the back patio door, ran to her neighbor's unit, and begged for help. The neighbor immediately called 911. And within minutes, Houston police arrived. Officers burst through their apartment and found Watts still in the bathroom with Lori, preparing to finish the drowning. He was caught in the act. No more shadows, no more anonymous killings. It was a moment long overdue. Carl Eugene Watts, born November 7th, 1953, in Killeen, Texas, to Dorothy Mae Young and Richard Watts. Following his parents' divorce, Mr. Watts was raised in Inkster, Michigan, by his mother, a school teacher. His childhood was marked by early illness, namely meningitis at the age of 2, followed by developmental difficulties, violent fantasies, and academic struggles. At 15, he committed his first known assault, choking a female classmate without remorse. His reason? She had evil in her eyes. Despite his arrest and eventual confession to a dozen murders, justice would prove elusive. Over and over again, he would escape lasting sentences. Between 1974 and 1982, Carl Eugene Watts committed an escalating series of brutal homicides across Michigan and Texas, leaving a trail of bodies, grief, and confusion at his wake. The following is a partial list of his known and confessed victims. Gloria Steele, age 19, Kalamazoo, Michigan, 1974. Found stabbed 33 times in her apartment. Watts was just 20 years old, no motive and no known relationship. Helen Dutcher, age 36, Detroit, Michigan, 1979. Stabbed to death in broad daylight. Witness, Joseph Foy, identified Watts decades later, leading to a conviction. Jean Klein, age 44, Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan, 1979. Murdered while walking. Cause of death, multiple stab wounds. Linda Tilley, age 22, Austin, Texas, 1981. Drowned in an apartment complex pool. No struggle, no motive. The only evidence, a confession. Elizabeth Montgomery, age 24, Houston, Texas, 1981. Stabbed outside her apartment, killed while bringing in groceries. Emily Lakia, age 14, strangled on her way back to her first job, one of his youngest known victims. Brookshire, Texas, 1982. 1982, after his arrest, Carl Eugene Watts confessed to 12 murders as part of a plea agreement in Texas. In exchange for his confession, the state declined to pursue capital charges and charged him instead with burglary and intent to murder, a charge that carried a 60-year sentence. However, due to procedural loopholes and his classification as a non-violent offender, Watts was eligible for early release after just 20 years. This plea deal barred future prosecution in those 12 murder cases, meaning families will never see trials, verdicts, or full accountability. Public outcry followed. Pressure mounted. Then, in 2004, Michigan prosecutors reopened the 1979 murder of Helen Dutcher. Witness Joseph Foy, then a teenager, positively identified Watts from a photo lineup. On November 17, 2004, Watts was convicted of first-degree murder in a Michigan court after numerous assaults. He was sentenced with life in prison behind bars. No parole, no release. The court deemed him beyond rehabilitation. Later in 2007, Watts was convicted again, this time for the 1974 murder of Gloria Steele. Again, life imprisonment. But before further charges could be pursued, Carl Eugene Watts died of prostate cancer on September 21st, 2007 at the age of 53, inside Michigan's prison hospital system. Let the record show, Carl Eugene Watts is believed to have murdered as many as 100 women, but only convicted in 2 cases. His crimes were motivated not by greed, lust, nor anger, but by utter delusion. He claimed to see evil in the eyes of strangers. He urged to get rid of them. And so, he took their lives to cleanse the world. There are no words for that kind of madness, only facts, grief, and silence. They called him Coral, the Sunday morning killer. I believe that Carl Eugene Watts enjoyed what he did. He admitted to it. That man deserved the death penalty, not a life sentence. What I think made him a serial killer was his lack of intelligence and the desperate need for attention. But I'll leave history to render that final judgment.